trusted my family more than anyone. That mistake didn't explode loudly, it rotted quietly until one night proved I had never belonged there at all. I'm 34, I've always been the dependable one. Not admired, not defended, just useful. The one who arrives early, leaves late, pays without asking questions. I learned young that approval in my family wasn't given. It was rationed, carefully, sparingly, usually to someone else. I built a life that worked on paper. Numbers job, clean apartment, no noise. I didn't demand space. I waited for it. That waiting became a habit. My family liked volume. Big laughs, loud stories, exaggerated affection that vanished the second it mattered. They called it closeness. I called it choreography. I was always on the edge of the frame, invited but never centered. The kind of presence that fills gaps, not memories. My brother, though, he owned every room without earning it. Charming in a way that excused damage. Reckless, forgiven before consequences even formed. He failed loudly and was applauded for surviving it. When he moved back home pushing 30, they defended him like a misunderstood genius. When I quietly paid my own tuition, covered bills, even wired money when my father's paycheck thinned, it was treated like background noise. Necessary, replaceable. I told myself it didn't bother me. That lie became easier with repetition. I smiled through the jokes disguised as concern. You're always working. You're too serious. Laughter followed. It always did. Silence never got the same reaction. Then came the dinner. My brother announced his engagement. The family reacted like a miracle had occurred. His fiancée was labeled perfect before I met her. A celebration was planned at a rooftop place so expensive it should have raised questions. It didn't. When my mother called, her voice softened into sugar. She asked me to come. Then gently, she asked for a favor. Just to secure the reservation. Just temporarily, we'll pay you back. My fingers hesitated over my card, then moved anyway. I booked the private section, 20 people. My card absorbed the deposit without protest. Neither did I. I told myself this was different, that showing up like this again might finally change something. The night arrived crisp and polished. I dressed carefully, pressed suit, new cufflinks I'd been saving. I held a champagne bottle with their initials printed neatly on the card. I arrived exactly on time. Inside, the room glowed. Lights draped overhead. Flowers I paid for. Music floating where I stood unnoticed. Everyone was already there, glasses raised, conversations mid-flight, laughter already settled into place. No one paused. I stepped forward. My brother glanced over, eyes sliding past me like I was furniture. "Oh, hey," he said, distracted, already turning away. Then he pointed, casually, toward a folding chair shoved near a service station, beside a trash bin. "Seats over there." No explanation, no hesitation. I stood still, champagne heavy in my hand, feeling something finally click loose. Not anger, not yet. Just the sharp realization that this wasn't a mistake. It was my assigned position. The moment he said it out loud, something inside me stopped trying. "Sorry," he said, voice coated in fake concern. "This table's for family." Then, with a lazy flick of his wrist, he gestured sideways. "But there's a seat over there." I blinked. Once. Slowly. Waiting for the punchline that never came. My eyes slid toward my mother. She didn't meet them. Just gave that thin, practiced smile. The one she uses when silence feels safer than honesty. My father lifted his glass and let out a small laugh, like this was harmless. Like this wasn't deliberate. His fiancée kept her gaze on her drink, fingers tracing the rim, uninterested. Somewhere behind them, someone laughed. Then another. The sound crawled under my skin. I stood there a beat too long, long enough to feel my throat tighten, long enough for heat to creep up my neck. 13 again. Standing at the edge of a wedding photo told to step aside because I didn't fit the look. Different year, same place. So I walked to the chair. It wobbled when I sat. I placed the champagne bottle on the floor beside me, didn't bother removing my coat. The waiter stopped by and glanced between me and the table. "Are you with the party?" he asked, already unsure. I nodded once. He handed me water. Clear, empty, then he left. 2 hours passed. Laughter kept erupting like fireworks I wasn't meant to see. Glasses clinked. Gifts opened. My brother stood and gave a speech about loyalty, about being surrounded by the people who mattered most. My mother wiped her eyes when his fiancée praised her as the best future mother-in-law anyone could dream of. Plates were cleared. Desserts arrived, layered, glittering, untouched by me. The band slowed their tempo as the sun slid behind the skyline. No one looked my way. Then the check appeared. I watched the waiter approach their table with the folder, hesitate, scan faces, then glance down at the name on file. His steps redirected. Toward me. "Excuse me, sir," he said quietly. "The total is 3,218. Should I run the same card?" Every head turned. My brother raised an eyebrow. "Yeah," he said easily. "He's got it." I smiled, not wide, not warm. Controlled. Measured. "Not my table," I said, just loud enough. The silence snapped. My brother's mouth parted. My mother frowned, confusion chasing calculation. My father straightened. Her father narrowed his eyes. The waiter froze. "I made the reservation," I continued calmly. "I paid the deposit, but I was told this table was for family." I gestured slightly. "I'm seated over there." I stood, picked up my coat, nodded once toward the trash bin beside my chair. No one breathed. "Wait," my mother said, voice suddenly fragile. "What are you doing?" I shrugged, following instructions. Then, quieter. "I wasn't welcome. I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I won't be paying." My brother snapped. "Don't be dramatic. It was a joke. You always do this. Take everything personally." The band's music faltered into an uncomfortable hum. I met his eyes. Didn't rush it. "Funny," I said. "It's always a joke when you're not the one being laughed at." His fiancée finally looked up, face pale. Her father leaned forward, voice sharp. "You invited him," he said slowly, "and sat him next to a trash can?" No one answered, and for the first time in my life I didn't fill the silence for them. She leaned forward, smile stretched thin enough to crack. "Let's not exaggerate," she said lightly. "He's just being dramatic. He's always been sensitive." There it was, the sentence she'd used my entire life to sand down anything sharp. Sensitive. Tired. Overreacting. Anything except acknowledging that something cruel had happened, and that they had all watched it happen. My mouth twitched. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was predictable. The waiter cleared his throat again, voice careful now. "I'm sorry, but we do need to close the private tab before the space shuts down. If the card on file won't be used, I'll need an alternative." No one moved. I turned toward the exit. That's when my father finally spoke. "Come on," he said, as if we were haggling over groceries. "You already paid half. You might as well finish it." I stopped. The words landed heavy, settling somewhere deep, rearranging things. I turned back slowly. "You're right," I said evenly. "I did pay the deposit." I took one step closer. I called 3 places to find a rooftop like he wanted. I scheduled it around his game nights. I ordered real flowers because you said fake ones would look cheap in photos. I paid $500 without blinking. I showed up alone, on time, in a suit. The room didn't breathe. And what did I get? My voice stayed low, controlled. A folding chair next to a trash can. And a reminder that this table was for family. I looked at my brother. So now you get to handle it. You and your real family. Color climbed his neck as he stood, puffing up like volume could fix this. You're making a scene. No, I said quietly. I'm drawing a line. Then I walked. I didn't wait for the elevator. Took the stairs, each step hitting harder than the last, adrenaline buzzing under my skin. Outside, the night air slapped me awake. I loosened my tie and kept moving, not sure where I was headed, only that I wasn't turning back. I thought that was it. A clean break, some awkward calls, an apology wrapped in excuses. I was wrong. Hours later, I was home, still in my suit, the unopened champagne sitting in my hand like something unfinished. My phone lit up. A message from my brother. You seriously couldn't just pay and talk later? Then my mother. You embarrassed us in front of her entire family. Was that the point? Then an unfamiliar number. Her voice was softer than I expected. Careful. I know we don't really talk, she said, but can I ask you something? Go ahead. Did you actually pay for everything? The pause stretched. Yeah. Silence, then quietly. They told my dad it was your idea, that you offered. Something inside me locked. I didn't offer, I said. They asked, I agreed. She exhaled slowly. My dad's furious. He said he wouldn't have agreed if he'd known it was being paid for by someone they pushed into a corner. He thinks they made him look stupid. I said nothing. I'm not calling to stir things up, she added quickly. I just thought you deserved to know. After we hung up, the quiet felt different. Heavy. Waiting. The fallout didn't take long. 2 days later, the family group chat, the one that only woke up for birthdays and blurry food photos, buzzed back to life. We need to talk, my mother wrote. Call me when you can. I stared at the screen, and for the first time I didn't rush to reply. They kept talking like this was a minor inconvenience, like it could be patched with the right tone. Messages kept coming, short, urgent, demanding. You need to help him fix this. This has gone too far. Just apologize so we can move on. I didn't answer, because it was never about the chair, or the bill, or even that night. It was about years of being summoned when something broke. The emergency contact, the spare tire, the quiet solution nobody thanked. And now that I'd finally stepped out of that role, they were staring at the empty space I left, panicking. What made it worse, or maybe clearer, was what happened on the other side. I heard it through someone who'd always treated me decently. A mutual acquaintance. He told me her father didn't sleep the night after the dinner, that he'd paid for his daughter's education, helped launch her business, carefully planned an engagement season meant to feel dignified. And then he found out the groom's family lied about who paid, shoved one of their own into a corner, and tried to quietly dump the rest of the bill on him when I refused. At brunch the next morning, he'd said something that stuck. If this is how they treat their own blood, he asked the table, what happens when you marry into it? That sentence spread faster than any apology ever could. Plans stalled, venues paused. She went back to her place to think. The shared boards vanished overnight. Suddenly, everything that had been unstoppable stopped. Then came the email. Not a call, not a voice message. An email. 5 carefully structured paragraphs. Soft language. Gentle blame. No ownership. No acknowledgement. Just how hurt they were. How shocked they were that I felt excluded. How much it would mean if I just sit down with him and smooth this over. The word sorry never appeared. I stared at the last line. Let's not let one silly night destroy the bond we've built. Bond. I thought about the 3-hour drive on Christmas Eve because he wasn't in the right headspace to shop. The trip abroad I canceled because there wasn't money for post-op care. The loan I co-signed without hesitation. The car that never came back. I closed the email, left it unread. 2 days later, my aunt called. That surprised me. She never called unless something mattered. She didn't waste time. Good, she said, after I told her I knew what this was about. About time someone shook the tree. I didn't respond fast enough. She exhaled. They've leaned on you for years, and he's treated you like background furniture. You didn't break anything. You just stopped holding it up. That was the first time anyone in my family said it out loud. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. His name. The venue canceled. They said we're not aligned in values. Fix this. Can you help me? Then a follow-up. Shorter, sharper. Just fix it. I stared at the screen, feeling nothing rush to the surface. No anger, no guilt, just clarity. He still didn't see me. Still thought I was a function, a lever to pull when pressure built. That's when I understood something important. I was going to fix this. Just not the way he wanted. That night, I didn't feel angry. I felt precise. I logged into the shared account, the one I'd opened temporarily when he'd fallen between jobs. The one he never bothered closing. His gym, his music, his little conveniences still quietly feeding off it. I stared at the balance for a moment. Money I'd left there out of habit. Out of loyalty that hadn't been returned in years. Then I moved it, every remaining dollar, into an account with only my name on it. Clean, silent, final. One call to the bank. A few verification questions. The line closed. I slept better than I had in weeks. The next morning, my phone exploded. 4 missed calls in 10 minutes. When I finally answered, his voice cracked before he finished the first sentence. What did you do? I didn't rush him. Let the silence stretch. I've got plans tonight, he said quickly, breathless now. I tried to pay and my card bounced. It says the account doesn't exist. I know, I said. I closed it. The pause was sharp. You can't just... I can, I cut in, calm. And I did. His tone shifted, scrambling for leverage. Come on, you're just jealous. You always were. You hate that I get the attention. Now her dad sides with you and you throw a tantrum. I laughed, out loud. Couldn't help it. You think he's on your side? I said lightly. Then softer, almost generous. Don't worry, you'll figure it out. You always do. Ask Mom to open another line. Or maybe learn how to stand without leaning on someone else. I hung up. A few hours later, my phone buzzed again. Not him. An email. Subject, we need to talk. I stared at it longer than I expected, then opened it. It wasn't rushed. Not emotional in the way people pretend to be. Careful. Honest. She admitted she hadn't noticed before, that she'd been focused on appearances, that her father hadn't just been angry, he'd been embarrassed, not by me, by them. She wrote about screenshots, itemized invoices, how stories stopped lining up, how excuses collapsed under simple questions, how he said I wanted to pay, how he said I chose the corner, how he said I left early because of work. I called the restaurant myself, she wrote. Everything fell apart. Then the sentence I didn't expect. I ended the engagement. I reread it. Once, twice. She said it wasn't only the dinner, it was the pattern it exposed, the entitlement, the way he spoke about me when he thought no one was listening, the way her concerns were brushed aside with jokes. You were the only one who reacted with dignity, she wrote. She ended it simply, no request, no demand, just acknowledgement, and an apology that didn't try to escape responsibility. I sat there a long time after that, letting the silence settle, letting myself believe it. The weeks that followed were quiet in a way my family had never been. The group chat went dark, calls stopped, attempts faded. Through secondhand updates, I learned the rest. He moved back home. The ring returned. Venues canceled. Friends disappeared. Everything that had once been propped up by my quiet support slowly collapsed under its own weight. And for the first time, I didn't rush in to hold it together. I let it fall. I thought the silence would be permanent, that everything would just fade into distance and awkward avoidance. Then, one Sunday morning, someone knocked. When I opened the door, it was her. She stood on my porch wrapped in a long cardigan, holding a plastic container of lasagna like a fragile truce. Her eyes were swollen, makeup barely masking the fatigue. She didn't smile. That alone told me this wasn't performance. "I brought you dinner," she said. I didn't move, just waited. "I just want to talk," she added. No excuses. That part caught me off guard. I stepped aside. She sat at my kitchen table the same way she used to years ago, fingers fidgeting, shoulders tense. But something was missing. No dismissive tone. No soft deflections. "No, you're just tired, or he didn't mean it," waiting in the wings. "I owe you an apology," she said. I folded my arms. "One?" Her jaw tightened, then she nodded. "Fair, probably more than one." She inhaled slowly. I didn't see it. Not because it wasn't there, but because I didn't want to see it. He was always loud, always demanding space. And you never asked for anything. You just handled things. Fixed them. Showed up. Her eyes dropped to the table. "Somewhere along the way, we started treating you like a safety net." I tilted my head. "That's the problem with safety nets," I said quietly. "People only notice them when they're falling, never when they're climbing." Her lip trembled. She nodded once. "Your father and I were wrong. We let him get away with too much. We let him treat you like less." I didn't interrupt. "I know I can't undo it," she continued. "I know food and apologies don't balance years, but I needed you to know. I see it now." For the first time I could remember, she wasn't deflecting, wasn't defending, wasn't minimizing. She was just sitting there, owning it. I nodded, slowly. "Thank you." We didn't talk much after that. She left the lasagna. I walked her to the door. She didn't ask me to forgive him, didn't ask me to call. She just paused and said, "Take care of yourself," then drove away. Things didn't magically fix themselves, but they didn't get worse either. Messages became individual. Short, careful. An invitation arrived for a holiday months away, framed with a quiet, "Only if you want to." I haven't decided. From what I hear, he's working a job he hates, living without rent, avoiding reflections. He hasn't reached out again. I'm fine with that. As for me, I started choosing differently. I took the trip I'd postponed, bought things I didn't justify to anyone, read about boundaries, about family systems, about strength that doesn't announce itself. I started therapy, not because something was wrong with me, but because I finally understood healing isn't waiting for validation. It's recognizing what you tolerated and deciding not to anymore. I didn't pay the bill that night, but I collected something far more expensive. Years of silent debt. And for the first time in my life, I'm not sitting where I'm told to sit. I'm at my own table, and it's finally quiet there. I assumed the collapse would end there. That once the doors shut and the noise stopped, everything would dissolve into distance and avoidance. For a while it did. Days passed without messages. Nights stayed quiet. I started to believe that silence was the final shape of it. Then, early on a Sunday, someone knocked. I didn't rush to answer. The sound came again, firm, patient. When I finally opened the door a few inches, she was standing there, wrapped in a long knit cardigan, holding a plastic container against her chest like it was a shield. Her eyes were swollen. Makeup applied more out of habit than confidence. She looked like someone who hadn't slept because sleep would have required admitting something. "I brought food," she said. I didn't move. "I just want to talk," she added quickly. No explanations, no defending. That part landed differently. I stepped aside. She sat at my kitchen table, hands folded too tightly, posture familiar in a way that pulled at old muscle memory. Same nervous fingers, same controlled breathing, but none of the usual soft dismissal waiting in the wings. No gentle reframing. No minimization disguised as concern. I owe you an apology, she said. I crossed my arms. One? Her jaw flexed. She nodded. Fair, more than one. She stared at the table like it might interrupt her if she looked away. I didn't see it, she said. Not because it wasn't happening. Because it was easier not to. He's always been loud. He fills space. And you? Her voice caught just slightly. You never asked for anything. You handled things. You showed up. We started expecting that. Relying on it. I let the words sit before answering. That's what happens when someone becomes a safety net, I said quietly. People stop noticing it until they fall. Her mouth trembled. She didn't wipe at it. Your father and I failed you. We let him take too much room. We let you be pushed aside. I stayed silent. Let her finish. I know I can't rebalance years with one visit, she continued. I know food and apologies don't fix patterns, but I needed you to hear this without excuses attached. I see it now, and I'm sorry. She didn't reach for me, didn't ask for reassurance, didn't demand forgiveness. She just sat there, finally carrying her share of the weight. I nodded once. Thank you. We didn't linger. She left the container on the counter. At the door, she didn't ask me to call him. Didn't ask me to soften anything. She just paused and said, "Take care of yourself," before walking away. Nothing snapped back into place after that, but nothing deteriorated further either. Messages stopped being public. No group pressure. Just short, careful check-ins. An invitation months away arrived with an unspoken condition. Only if I wanted it. I haven't answered. From what I hear, he's working a job that drains him, living off generosity that's starting to thin. He hasn't contacted me again. I'm not waiting for it. I started filling my time with things that didn't require justification. I took the trip I'd postponed, bought small luxuries without explaining them, read about boundaries, about systems that reward silence, about strength that doesn't announce itself. I sat across from a therapist and spoke freely. Not because I was broken, but because I was done pretending I wasn't affected. Healing didn't come with a dramatic apology. It came when I stopped waiting for one. I didn't cover the bill that night, but I collected something far more valuable. Years of unspoken debt. And for the first time, I'm not sitting where someone else decided I belonged. I'm seated where I chose to be, at my own table.